In April 2025, archaeologists in Pompeii poured liquid plaster into a void in the volcanic ash. That void had been sitting there, undisturbed, for almost 2,000 years. When the plaster hardened and the ash was cleared away, they were looking at a bed, sideways, pressed against a doorframe, the exact position it had been left in by the people who pushed it there on the last night of their lives. 4 skeletons were found in that house, 3 adults, 1 child. And this single find, this bedcast, is the first direct physical evidence ever recovered of a Pompeii family actively barricading themselves against the eruption. Not running, not sheltering passively, building a barrier, making a plan, fighting back. But here is what makes this discovery genuinely different from anything found before. Because the bed is only the first of 3 things science has uncovered at Pompeii in the last 12 months that have forced researchers to rewrite what they thought they knew. And by the time you reach the 3rd one, everything you think you know about this city and the people buried inside it will look different. August 24th, 79 AD, mid-afternoon. The sky above Pompeii tears open. Mount Vesuvius, dormant for centuries, detonates. The eruption column climbs 33 kilometers into the stratosphere, 4 times the cruising altitude of a commercial aircraft. And from that column, volcanic rock fragments begin to rain down on a city of 20,000 people who had absolutely no framework for understanding what was happening to them. Pompeii was a prosperous Roman commercial city. Bakeries, bathhouses, election graffiti on walls, elaborate mythology painted on dining room walls. The kind of city where people were comfortable, where people had routines, where the mountain on the horizon had simply always been there. By early evening, roughly 80% of the population had evacuated. They read the situation. They left. The ones who stayed either could not leave or believed they could wait it out, or believed that a locked door and a bed frame pushed sideways might be enough. The house is known as the House of Helle and Phrixus. It sits in Regio 5 of the ancient city, on the Via del Vesuvio, named not for its inhabitants, but for the painting on its dining room wall. A rich fresco, painted in deep reds and blacks and golds, depicting the Greek myth of Helle and Phrixus. The moment when Helle, riding a golden ram through the sky with her brother, loses her grip and falls. Phrixus reaches back for her. She's already gone. The house was mid-sized, well-decorated, bronze kitchenware, storage jars, a working household of some standing. Under renovation at the time of the eruption, missing thresholds, unfinished walls, construction materials still scattered about. The family had been living through building work. They had decided to stay. Here is the architectural detail that determined everything. Roman homes of this type were built around a central atrium, an open-roofed space designed to let in light and collect rainwater. Elegant, practical, civilized. On a normal day, the open ceiling brought rain. On August 24th, 79 AD, it brought volcanic rock. The open roof section acted as a funnel. Stones poured directly into the heart of the house. The feature designed to sustain the household became its first point of failure. So they moved to a small bedroom at the back of the house. Room 10, roughly 2 meters by 3, small, enclosed, a door that could be blocked. And they pushed the bed sideways across that doorway. This is the moment the 2025 discovery becomes scientifically significant. Because prior to this excavation, we had theories about how Pompeii victims behaved. We had body positions, we had shelter patterns, but we had never recovered direct physical evidence of someone actively constructing a survival barrier, using furniture, deliberately, as architecture. The wood decomposed completely over 2,000 years, but wood leaves voids in volcanic ash as it rots. Precise, exact, measurable voids. The archaeologists poured plaster into those empty spaces, and the bed reappeared, exactly as it had been placed, sideways, against the doorframe, frozen at the moment of placement for 1,946 years. Park director Gabriel Zuchtriegel described the find directly. Traces of the inhabitants who tried to save themselves, blocking the entrance of a small room with a bed, of which we made a cast. Read that again. They made a cast of the bed. The bed that a family pushed against a door 2,000 years ago is now sitting in a laboratory. Real, physical, shaped by human hands on the worst night of their lives. And there were 4 of them, 3 adults, 1 child. The child was wearing a bronze bulla. A bulla was a hollow amulet given to Roman boys at birth, worn on a cord around the neck every single day. A symbol of protection, of childhood not yet ended. Roman boys wore the bulla until the day they became men. The child wearing it on August 24th, 79 AD, never reached that day. The barricade held, for a while. But volcanic rock does not stop for wooden furniture. The stones kept accumulating. The structural weight on the house kept increasing. And at some point, whoever was in that room made a second decision. They moved the bed. They opened the door. They ran. We know this because of where the bones were found. Not in the bedroom, in the triclinium, the dining room, the room with the painting of Helle, already falling. They had made it that far, across the corridor, into the painted room. And there, the pyroclastic surge found them, a wave of superheated gas and volcanic material, moving at up to 160 kilometers per hour, at temperatures between 180 and 360 degrees Celsius. It entered the triclinium, and it did not leave anything living behind. Now here is where the second discovery enters the story, because science in 2024 did something that would have seemed impossible even 10 years ago. It pinpointed, almost exactly, when these people died. The eruption of Vesuvius unfolded in two phases. The first phase, the eruption column, lasted through the afternoon and evening of August 24th. Pumice and ash rained continuously. By nightfall, nearly 3 meters of material had accumulated on rooftops. Buildings began collapsing under the weight. A 2024 study in Frontiers in Earth Science confirmed that simultaneous earthquakes were killing people inside collapsing structures throughout this entire phase, a threat the family in the bedroom was not aware of, could not have been aware of. The second phase began around 1 in the morning of August 25th. The eruption column, 33 kilometers tall, could no longer hold itself up. It collapsed, and what had been shooting upward came down instead. 6 pyroclastic surges swept down the flanks of Vesuvius in rapid succession. The first 2 destroyed Herculaneum entirely at 500 degrees Celsius. The 300 people sheltering in the stone boathouses along the waterfront died in seconds. Not minutes, seconds. Well, a 2024 analysis by Scarpati and colleagues in the Journal of the Geological Society did something extraordinary. By mapping the volcanic deposit layers across Pompeii with millimeter precision, they reconstructed the exact sequence and timing of each surge. The result was a number, 7:07 a.m. That is the moment the fourth pyroclastic surge, the one that killed most of Pompeii's remaining population, reached the city at full lethal force. Not an estimate, not a range. A reconstruction, calculated from physical evidence in the volcanic layers. The family in the house of Helle and Phrixus had survived the night. They had survived the volcanic rock, the falling roofs, the earthquakes, the darkness. They had survived approximately 18 hours after the eruption began, and then, just before sunrise, at roughly 7 in the morning. They did not. Think about what that means. We now know, within minutes, when a specific family in a specific bedroom died. We know they were alive at 6:30. We know they were gone before 8. 2,000 years later, science handed us the last hour of their lives. Now we reach the third discovery. And this one does not just change what we know about the house of Helle and Phrixus. It changes what we know about almost every famous image ever recovered from Pompeii. In November 2024, a landmark genetic study was published in the journal Current Biology. Researchers from the University of Florence, Harvard, and the Max Planck Institute extracted ancient DNA from the bones embedded in 14 of Pompeii's famous plaster casts. They successfully analyzed 5 individuals, and what those 5 genomes revealed. Dismantled a century and a half of assumptions. For over 150 years, the plaster casts of Pompeii's victims have been presented to the world as families. A mother cradling her child, a father beside them, 2 sisters embracing. That is the story the physicians seem to tell. That is the story told in museums, in documentaries, in every classroom that ever projected images of the casts onto a screen. DNA said otherwise. At the house of the golden bracelet, 4 individuals long presented as a nuclear family were tested. All 4 were genetically male. All 4 were completely unrelated to each other. The figure with the golden bracelet, the one in every photograph, the one every visitor had assumed was a mother cradling her child, was an unrelated adult man. At the house of the Cryptoporticus, an embracing pair interpreted for over a century as sisters, or a mother and daughter, was tested. The pair included at least 1 male. They were not maternally related at all. What this means is profound. The story we told about Pompeii's victims was not based on evidence. It was based on assumption, based on what we expected to see, based on what felt emotionally coherent. And it applies directly to the 4 individuals in the house of Helle and Phrixus. We do not know if they were a family. We do not know if the adults were related to the child. We do not know if any of them had ever met before August 24th. One archaeologist has suggested they may not have been the homeowners at all. They may have been people who fled from collapsing houses nearby and took shelter with strangers. 4 people, possibly strangers, pushed a bed against a door together, decided together to run when the barricade failed, and died together, in a room they had never planned to be in, because the volcano gave them no other option. There is one detail about this discovery that no scientific paper can fully account for. The fresco on the dining room wall, the image that gave this house its name. In the myth, Phrixus and Helle are escaping on a golden ram, fleeing danger. They are almost free. And then Helle loses her grip. Phrixus reaches back. She is already falling. 4 people escaping from a bedroom, crossing a corridor, reaching the dining room, almost free, almost out. And then the surge came. The last image those 4 people ever saw was a painting of the same story. 3 discoveries, published across 12 months. All a bedcast that proved people actively fought back. A volcanic layer analysis that told us almost exactly when they lost. A DNA study that dismantled 150 years of assumptions about who was even in these rooms. No DNA analysis has yet been published on the 4 individuals in the house of Helle and Phrixus. That work is coming, and when it does, it will either confirm our assumptions about who pushed that bed or destroy them. But here's what the bones already tell us that no test can improve upon. These 4 people did not accept what was happening. They read the danger, they formed a plan, they executed it. When the plan failed, they adapted. They moved the bed. They opened the door. They ran. They were not passive. They were not paralyzed. They were people doing exactly what any of us would do, fighting, or with what they had, against something too large to fight. Roughly a third of Pompeii remains unexcavated. Every year, new rooms are opened, new casts are made, new decisions are recovered from the ash, and with each room the science gets sharper. The DNA gets more precise. The volcanic layer analysis gets more detailed. The timeline gets tighter. We are not just finding bodies anymore. We are reconstructing the last hours of individual human lives with a resolution that was unimaginable even a decade ago. Archaeology is often described as the study of objects, but the bedcast in room 10 of the house of Helle and Phrixus is not really an object. It is a sentence, written in the last available language, by someone who did not want to die. And it has been waiting 2,000 years for science to finally read it.